It was an ordinary Monday morning. The sky over the city was grey, heavy with rain, and the streets were filled with people rushing to work. Among them was Daniel Carter, a 37-year-old man who had almost forgotten what it felt like to hope for something better. Daniel worked at a small insurance company downtown. He wasn't rich, he wasn't poor, just one of those people who lived quietly between paychecks, trying not to fall behind. Every day felt the same. Wake up, coffee, traffic, elevator, desk. Nothing ever changed. That morning, however, something was different. As Daniel entered the tall glass building, the security guard nodded and said something odd. "Good morning, sir. You're in for a special day?" Daniel smiled awkwardly, assuming it was just small talk. He stepped into the elevator, a quiet metal box, lined with mirrors and soft music playing in the background. He pressed the button for the 18th floor. The doors began to close, but just before they did, a hand appeared, stopping them. An elderly man with silver hair and kind eyes stepped in. He was well dressed, holding a small black umbrella and a briefcase that looked older than Daniel himself. "Thank you," the old man said softly. "18th floor?" Daniel nodded. "Same as me," the man replied, smiling. The elevator began to move. For a few seconds, there was only silence, the hum of the cables, the faint echo of rain outside. Then, without warning, the lights flickered. The elevator stopped. A low, mechanical sound filled the air, then faded. Daniel frowned and looked at the buttons. All of them were glowing red. "Must be a power surge," Daniel muttered. But the old man didn't look worried. Instead, he looked at Daniel with calm eyes and said, "Maybe it's not a malfunction. Maybe it's a moment meant for you." Daniel blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" The old man smiled faintly. "Sometimes life traps us between floors so we can realize where we truly stand." Before Daniel could respond, the elevator lights flickered again, and then everything changed. The doors opened, but not to the 18th floor, not even to the office building. In front of them was a hallway Daniel had never seen before. Warm golden light, a faint scent of lavender, and the sound of soft wind chimes. It felt peaceful. The old man gestured toward the open space. "After you," he said gently. Daniel hesitated, then stepped out. As his shoes touched the floor, the air felt warmer, almost comforting. The old man followed, and as soon as he did, the elevator doors closed behind them. When Daniel turned around, the elevator was gone. There was only a wooden door, and above it, a brass plate that read, "Property transfer, private showing." Daniel stared in disbelief. He had no idea that the moment he stepped out of that elevator, his entire life was about to change. Daniel stood frozen, staring at the golden hallway. Everything looked unreal. The warm lights, the polished floor, the faint echo of music somewhere in the distance. "Property transfer, private showing," he whispered again. "What does that even mean?" The old man smiled. "It means, Mr. Carter, someone is about to receive a gift." Daniel turned to him, confused. "I think you've got the wrong person." The old man chuckled softly. "Life doesn't make mistakes, Daniel. It just takes time for us to understand." They walked slowly down the hall. At the end stood a large oak door. It opened by itself with a soft click. Behind it, a house, not just any house. It was elegant, spacious, filled with light from huge windows that overlooked a garden glowing under the rain. The smell of fresh coffee and flowers drifted through the air. Daniel stepped inside cautiously. "This can't be real," he murmured. He could hear the ticking of a clock somewhere, the faint creak of wood under his feet. It all felt alive. "Who owns this place?" he asked. "You do," said the old man simply. Daniel laughed nervously. "Right." I wish the old man handed him a small envelope, cream-colored, sealed with wax. "Open it." Daniel broke the seal. Inside was a single piece of paper that read, "Deed of ownership, 42 Willow Lane." And beneath it, his full name. Daniel's hands trembled. "This isn't possible," he said. "I can't afford—" The old man interrupted gently. "It's not about what you can afford. It's about what you've earned." "I haven't earned anything," Daniel said bitterly. "I'm just ordinary, a man who's been running in circles his whole life." The old man walked toward the window, watching the rain fall. "Do you remember the woman you helped last month? The one outside the coffee shop?" Daniel frowned. "You mean the homeless lady?" "Yes," said the old man. "You gave her your umbrella and $50. You thought nobody noticed. But someone did." Daniel's eyes widened. "You?" The old man smiled faintly. "Not exactly. Let's just say, kindness is never lost. It always finds its way back." Daniel sat down on the couch, overwhelmed. Everything around him felt surreal. The soft hum of music, the warmth of the fireplace that had somehow lit itself, the feeling of peace he hadn't felt in years. The old man placed a small key on the table. "That door leads to the world you came from," he said. "You can return if you wish. Continue living as before." Daniel looked at the key, then at the papers. "And if I stay?" The old man smiled. "Then you begin again." Daniel's heart raced. He didn't understand what was happening, but something inside him whispered that this, whatever it was meant for him. He stood up slowly, walked to the window, and whispered, "Maybe it's time I stopped waiting for life to change and started living." The old man nodded. "Then the house is yours." At that moment, Daniel turned back, but the old man was gone. The umbrella, the briefcase, even his reflection in the window had vanished. The only thing left was silence and a new beginning waiting behind every door. For hours, Daniel wandered through the house, touching the walls, running his hand along the furniture, and breathing in the quiet air. Every room seemed to tell a story. The living room held paintings of places he had never been. Mountains, oceans, a lighthouse glowing at dusk. The kitchen looked brand new, yet felt as though someone had cooked there for years. And in the corner, a piano stood silently, with a small note resting on the keys. Daniel unfolded it. It said, "Play something that reminds you of home." He smiled faintly. He hadn't played since his father died 10 years ago. Still, his fingers found the keys naturally. The sound echoed gently through the empty rooms, warm and fragile, like memory itself. As he played, something strange happened. The house seemed to breathe. The lights softened, the air grew warmer, and faint voices filled the background. Not real voices, but echoes. Laughter, a woman's hum, the patter of children's feet running upstairs. Daniel stopped playing. "Hello?" he called out, half expecting someone to answer, but there was only silence. Still, it didn't feel lonely. It felt alive. He explored the upstairs rooms next. One door led to a small study, shelves filled with books, each labeled with his name on the spine. He pulled one out and opened it. Inside were notes from his own life, memories, choices, regrets. The first page read, June 14th, 2011. The day you gave up your dream to help your mother. His chest tightened. He remembered that day perfectly. He had abandoned music school to work 2 jobs after his mother fell ill. He turned the page, December 2nd, 2016. The night you forgave your brother. Another memory, long buried, but still warm. And on the final page, October 31st, 2025, the day you entered the elevator. Daniel froze. That was today. He closed the book slowly, his heart pounding. The realization crept in. This wasn't just a house. It was his life, reflected back at him, one choice at a time. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring out the window as the rain finally stopped. Golden sunlight spilled into the room, catching the dust in the air like tiny stars. It was quiet, peaceful. Daniel whispered, "Maybe. This house isn't a reward. Maybe it's a reminder." He looked down at the old envelope again. The deed, the wax seal, the elegant handwriting. Then he noticed something he hadn't before. Faint words written at the bottom in cursive. "You are never truly lost, as long as you remember who you are." A soft knock echoed from downstairs. He stood, heart racing. Was it the old man? Someone else? He walked slowly toward the door, unsure what he would find, but knowing that whatever waited on the other side was part of the truth he had come here to discover. Daniel walked slowly down the stairs, each creak of the wood echoing through the quiet house. The knock came again, gentle, patient, as if the person outside already knew he would open. He reached the front door, hesitated for a moment, and turned the handle. Standing there was a young woman. She looked about 30, wearing a raincoat still damp from the storm. In her arms, she held a small cardboard box, and her eyes looked strangely familiar. "Mr. Carter?" she asked softly. "Yes," Daniel replied, still cautious. She smiled nervously. I think this belongs to you." Daniel frowned. "What is it?" She lifted the box and handed it to him. Inside was a framed photograph of Daniel as a child, standing beside his father in front of an old brick house. A small house, his first home. He stared at it, speechless. "Where did you find this?" The woman took a deep breath. "My name is Evelyn," she said. "I work with the city's housing trust. This property, 42 Willow Lane, it used to belong to your family. It was repossessed years ago after your father passed away. But lately, something strange happened." Daniel looked up, heart racing. "What do you mean?" Evelyn hesitated. "The records changed. A few days ago, we received new documents, official ones, showing that the house had been transferred to you. Fully paid, legally signed. No one knows who filed the paperwork." Daniel's mind spun. The envelope, the old man, the elevator. He whispered, "It can't be." Evelyn nodded slowly. "When I saw your name, I felt like I had to come. My father used to talk about yours. They worked together, years ago." She paused, then smiled faintly. "He used to say your dad believed in second chances, that kindness always comes back home." Daniel felt a lump rise in his throat. He looked at the photo again, his father's smile, his small hand clutching that same key he had just been given upstairs. It all connected. Evelyn stepped inside. "I'm sorry to intrude," she said softly, "but I think this house wanted you to have it." Daniel laughed quietly, tears forming in his eyes. "I think you're right." They sat by the fireplace, sharing coffee as the rain faded into a calm evening. Evelyn told him how the house had stood empty for years, waiting for someone to claim it. And Daniel told her about the elevator, the old man, the words that made no sense. Until now. When she left, Daniel stood by the door, watching her disappear down the path. The house felt warmer than ever, alive again. For the first time in years, he didn't feel lost. He looked up at the ceiling and whispered, "Thank you, Dad." The lights flickered softly, not in warning this time, but like an answer. A quiet acknowledgement from somewhere beyond the walls. Daniel smiled. He didn't know how any of this had happened, or who the old man truly was. But deep down, he understood the truth. Some gifts are not about wealth. They're about remembrance, love, and the chance to begin again. Days passed, and the rain finally gave way to sunlight. The house on Willow Lane no longer felt empty. It breathed with life, with memory, with peace. Daniel spent his mornings by the window, drinking coffee, listening to the wind move through the trees. He still didn't know how or why any of this had happened, but he had stopped trying to explain it. Some things weren't meant to be understood, only felt. He began to fix the place up, repainting the porch, planting flowers, repairing the roof. And each time he worked, he felt as if someone was there beside him, guiding his hands, whispering quiet encouragement. One afternoon, while cleaning the attic, he found an old box covered in dust. Inside were his father's journals, pages filled with sketches, letters, and dreams of building a better life for his family. At the bottom was a note written in faded ink. "If one day this house returns to you, remember, it was built not just with wood and nails, but with love." Daniel smiled, his eyes wet with tears. He whispered, "It did come back, Dad. It really did." Over the next months, Daniel turned the house into something new, a shelter for families who had lost their homes, a place of warmth and new beginnings. He named it the Second Chance House. People came from all over the city, some broken, some lost, all searching for hope. And Daniel welcomed them with open arms, never asking for payment, never turning anyone away. One evening, after helping a single mother and her little boy settle into a room, Daniel stood alone in the hallway. The lights flickered softly again, just like the day it all began. He smiled. "I know," he said quietly. "This was never about me, was it?" The house seemed to answer with a soft creak, like a sigh of contentment, and in that moment, Daniel finally understood. The gift he had received wasn't the house itself. It was the lesson that kindness returns, that love never truly disappears, and that sometimes the universe gives us exactly what we need to give back to others. He sat by the fire, closed his eyes, and whispered, "Thank you," for the elevator. Outside, the wind carried the scent of rain and roses. The world moved on quietly, but inside the house, something sacred remained. A reminder that miracles don't always arrive in lightning or gold. Sometimes they come in the shape of an open door and a chance to begin again. Because in the end, Daniel Carter didn't just inherit a house, he inherited hope. And that was worth more than anything money could buy. Sometimes life gives us more than we deserve, and sometimes it gives us exactly what we need to wake up and see the beauty around us. Daniel's story reminds us that kindness, no matter how small, has the power to build miracles, even from broken dreams. So, if you've ever felt lost or forgotten, remember this: your story isn't over yet. Every day is a new chance to open a new door, to believe again, to give again. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this story with someone who needs a little hope today. Your support helps us bring more stories like this to life. Stories that remind us all that miracles can happen to anyone, even you. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the smallest act of kindness can open the biggest doors. Until next time, stay kind, stay hopeful, and never stop believing in second chances.